Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something huge for any business dipping its toes into crypto: how to navigate the tricky, complex world of global Bitcoin payment regulations.
So there's no question that Bitcoin is changing the game for businesses all over the world. It's opening up these amazing opportunities for growth, for efficiency. But before you dive headfirst into all that, there's one big hurdle you've got to clear.
And yeah, that hurdle is compliance. Getting a handle on the massive web of international rules isn't just a suggestion, it's absolutely critical. You've got to, if you want to avoid some really serious penalties. We're talking steep fines, getting your license revoked, stuff you definitely don't want to mess with.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, as of June 2025, a whopping 99 jurisdictions have put laws in place that enforce rules like the FAF travel rule. That's the one that says crypto providers have to share info about who's sending and receiving transactions. It's making global compliance more complicated, for sure, but also more important than ever.
Okay, so let's get into it. Here's our game plan. We'll start with the Bitcoin boom, then get into the regulation maze, figure out regional laws, talk about building your compliance engine, cover the challenges of going global, and finally, show you how all of this can actually be your secret weapon.
So first up, why is this so tough? Well, you just can't stick your head in the sand. Every country has its own way of doing things, which creates this crazy patchwork of rules that can hit your business, your customers, and your bottom line.
So where do you even begin? Well, step one, and honestly the most important step, is getting a real handle on the specific laws in every single place you do business. Now, what's really wild is just how different the rules are from one place to the next. You've got the US focusing on things like VASP registration, the EU with its big unified MiCAR framework, and then you jump over to Dubai and it's a whole other ballgame with its own dedicated crypto regulator.
And this right here really shows you the contrast. In the US, you're wrestling with this complicated dual system. You've got federal laws plus a whole bunch of different state laws. But then you look at the European Union and they've created a much cleaner, unified framework with MiCAR. That means one set of rules for all 27 member states. Much simpler.
So, the big takeaway here is you need to turn all this info into an actual actionable compliance map. For every country, you got to know the regulators, the licensing rules, the reporting duties, and this part is so important. You need a way to keep an eye on updates because these laws are changing all the time.
Okay, so once you've got your map, it's time to build the core of your operation. This brings us to steps 2 and 3. Setting up your identity verification systems, and of course, getting all the right licenses so you can operate legally.
And really, it all boils down to a two-part process. First, you've got to know who your customers are, so you need solid Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering systems. Second, you need that official stamp of approval. You have to register as a Virtual Asset Service Provider, or VASP, wherever it's required.
Now, digging into that first part, having strong KYC and AML protocols means you're doing things like following the Bank Secrecy Act in the US. You're complying with that FATF travel rule for data sharing. You're using multi-step ID checks, think ID, address, biometrics, and you're keeping all your transaction records safe for at least 5 years.
You're going to hear this acronym VASP all the time. It sounds super formal, but it's pretty simple. It's basically any business that helps people exchange, transfer, or hold crypto like Bitcoin. And if that's you, well, you're probably going to need to register.
And where you register totally depends on where you are. In the US, you'd register as a money services business with FinCEN. In the EU, it's all under that one MiCA umbrella. Over in the UK, you're talking to the FCA. And in Dubai, you'll need a license from VARA. Each one has its own little dance you have to do. All right, engine's built, ready to go. Now for the really interesting part, taking things global. This is steps 4 and 5, where we get into the nitty-gritty of international payments and the tech that makes it all possible. You know, sending payments across borders comes with its own set of headaches. You've got to deal with conflicting rules, different tax laws, not to mention grabbing all that data for the travel rule and screening every transaction against sanctions lists, like the one from OFAC in the States. It's a lot.
And this is exactly where technology becomes your best friend. Some platforms are built to make this way easier by being non-custodial. This quote explains it perfectly. They're just software connecting wallets. They never actually touch your funds, which can really lighten some of that regulatory load.
Seriously, the right platform can be a total game changer. It can automate your reporting, which is huge, and give you flexible tools like APIs to build your own compliance systems for each specific market, all while helping you stay on the right side of tough privacy laws like GDPR.
So after all that, I know it's easy to look at compliance as just this massive chore, right? But for our last point, let's flip that idea on its head. What if all this work is actually your biggest strategic advantage? Because here's the thing. When you build a really solid, proactive compliance framework, you're not just dodging bullets. You are actively building trust with your customers, with your partners, with regulators, and in this industry, trust is everything. It's the foundation for real, sustainable growth. Which kind of leaves us with one big question to chew on. In this new, fast-moving digital economy, could mastering all this tricky compliance stuff be the one thing that actually sets your business apart from everyone else? It might just be the ultimate competitive edge.